The morning started like every other exhausting morning in Daniel Carter's life. The alarm rang at 5:30 a.m., and before he even opened his eyes, he heard the soft cough from the small bedroom across the hall. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, had been fighting a stubborn cold for days. Daniel rolled out of bed, already tired, already worried, already calculating in his head how he would stretch the remaining $53 in his bank account until Friday. Being a single father wasn't the life he had imagined, but it was the life he had embraced with both arms after his wife passed away 3 years ago. Every breakfast he cooked, every braid he awkwardly tried to fix in Lily's hair, every late-night homework session, he did it with quiet pride. That morning, after dropping Lily at school with a promise to bring her favorite soup for dinner, Daniel headed to the small neighborhood coffee shop where he worked part-time before starting his construction shift. The shop was warm, filled with the scent of roasted beans and cinnamon pastries, a small comfort in his otherwise relentless routine. Around 9 a.m., just as the morning rush began to settle, the door chimed and a woman walked in who didn't look like she belonged to this modest place. She wore a simple beige coat, her hair tied back neatly, her presence calm but commanding. She wasn't flashy, but there was something about her confidence that made the room subtly shift. Daniel noticed the way a group of loud businessmen at the corner table immediately began whispering and laughing as she passed by. At first, he ignored it. People could be cruel, and he had learned to stay out of trouble, but then one of the men stood up and blocked her path, making a sarcastic comment about her, thinking she was too good to smile. The woman tried to move around him politely, her voice steady as she asked him to step aside, but the men persisted, his friends snickering. The entire cafe fell silent. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He thought of Lily. He thought of the kind of world he wanted her to grow up in. And without fully thinking through the consequences, without considering that he desperately needed this job, he stepped from behind the counter. His voice was calm but firm as he told the men to return to his seat and leave the lady alone. The businessman scoffed, looking Daniel up and down as if measuring his worth by his worn apron and tired eyes. "Mind your business," the men snapped. Daniel didn't back down. He repeated himself, louder this time, making it clear that harassment wouldn't be tolerated in the cafe. The owner wasn't present, and everyone knew confrontations could cost employees their jobs, but Daniel stood his ground anyway. After a tense few seconds, the man rolled his eyes, muttered something under his breath, and returned to his table, clearly embarrassed by the attention. The woman looked at Daniel, her expression unreadable for a moment, and then she smiled, a genuine, grateful smile that seemed to soften the air around them. She thanked him quietly and ordered a simple black coffee. Daniel nodded, brushing off the incident as just another moment in a long, difficult life. He didn't ask her name. He didn't expect anything in return. He only knew he would want someone to defend Lily one day if she ever needed it. What Daniel didn't know was that the woman he had just defended was Victoria Hale, one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country, the founder and CEO of a rapidly expanding global tech empire. She had built her company from scratch after dropping out of college, turning a small coding project into a multi-billion-dollar corporation with offices worldwide. She kept her wealth discreet, preferring simple clothes and unannounced visits to places she was considering investing in. And this very neighborhood, this struggling district filled with small businesses, was on her radar for redevelopment. Victoria sat in the corner for nearly an hour, watching Daniel interact with customers. She noticed the way he remembered regulars' orders, the way he slipped an extra cookie into a struggling college student's bag without charging her, the way he checked his phone during breaks to make sure Lily's school hadn't called. She saw integrity. She saw quiet strength. And most of all, she saw a man who acted out of principle, not for applause. Before leaving, she approached the counter again and asked Daniel what made him step in earlier. Daniel shrugged, slightly embarrassed by the attention. "It's just the right thing to do," he said. "My daughter's watching me, even when she's not here." Victoria's eyes lingered on him a second longer than necessary. She thanked him again and walked out, leaving behind more than just the cost of her coffee, a business card with nothing but her name and a phone number. That evening, Daniel received a call that would flip his world upside down. The cafe owner, pale and trembling, had just discovered who Victoria Hale was after checking the security footage and recognizing her from a business magazine cover. Instead of being angry about the confrontation, she had sent a formal inquiry about purchasing the cafe and expanding it into a chain, with Daniel as the operating manager. Daniel thought it was a prank at first. Billionaires didn't notice men like him. They didn't call them personally. But Victoria did. She called him herself, her voice calm yet decisive, telling him she admired courage and character more than polished resumes. She offered him not just a job, but a partnership opportunity, training, education funding for Lily, and a chance to build something bigger than survival. Daniel was speechless. He had defended a stranger because it was right, never imagining that his small act of bravery had been witnessed by someone powerful enough to change his future. Over the next weeks, Victoria visited often, not as a billionaire executive, but as a woman genuinely curious about the single father who had risked his job for a principal. She met Lily, who instantly adored her. She saw the modest apartment, the carefully budgeted groceries, the love that filled every corner despite financial hardship. And somewhere between business meetings and coffee refills, something unexpected began to grow. Victoria, who had built empires but struggled to find sincerity in relationships, found herself drawn to Daniel's authenticity. He didn't know how to impress her with wealth or status. He only knew how to be honest. And that was exactly what she had been searching for. The headlines months later would talk about corporate expansions and visionary leadership, but they wouldn't mention the real turning point, a single father in a worn apron choosing courage over comfort in a small coffee shop. Daniel never defended Victoria because she was a billionaire. He defended her because she was a human being who deserved respect. And in doing so, he unknowingly defended his own future. Their story became proof that integrity attracts opportunity, that kindness echoes in rooms we cannot see, and that sometimes the universe rewards those who stand up when it would be easier to stay silent. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that small actions can create life-changing miracles, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because the next story might just inspire the courage that transforms your own life.